All right, and we are live, everybody. So this is, as usual, Mike Bruce with Life Starts with Food Health Coaching, and I am here with a guy who is, I call him, I forget what I called you in the details I wrote below, but almost like a surprise hero of mine, right? So everybody's heroes are the standards. You got Mark Sisson, you have what's the guy from On It, uh, you go across the board. You got all these heroes, and I went through 13 plus hours of the Primal Health Coach Institute audio. And through emailing, you told me you actually made video for that too, which sounds pretty fun. I would like to see that sometime. And I actually listened to all of them twice. So I really just felt like we became friends. But what's funny is uh, when I first heard your voice and not Mark's, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Paying all this money and I'm listening to Brad Kearns. And I just, I fell in love. We were like best friends, and just hearing your voice whenever I'm riding a lawnmower, learning all these things that you're teaching, and your stories that you told along the way were terrific. And for those of you who don't know Brad, there's too much to even go into here, but he has had several amazing careers, and he's a guy that is passionate. If he's passionate, he goes for it, and he does his absolute best at it. So that's all you need to know about Brad. And that sums up his life, along with the tagline, "Get over yourself." So Brad, would you like to intro yourself in any way?
Oh my gosh, how could you top that intro, Mike? I'm so glad to be on here and so exciting to be live. We're real live.
Right.
We're going to have some fun. And it's nice to hear that after all that hard work of narrating the modules in the Primal Health Coach course, that someone actually listened to it. So great stuff. And I think I dropped in some fun stuff for the listener to make sure, we could have some value added from what was written there. So some ad lib jokes and whatnot in that 13-hour journey. Maybe that's why you liked it.
It was terrific. Yeah. And even through that journey, you would say, okay, I made this YouTube video. Go find me under this pseudonym. And
oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
It was so much fun. But something, when we were talking about the things, actually, I cut you off. You do need to give us some things, just the highlights along your career. You've had a lot. A lot.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've been working with Mark Sisson for the last 12 years promoting the primal movement, and we've done a lot of books together and online courses and the Primal Health Coach. And so that's been a really fun journey. And Mark and I go way back to my days as an athlete. So my first career was professional triathlete, and I raced on the circuit for 9 years and had a great time traveling around the world and giving my heart and soul to this incredibly challenging athletic pursuit and trying to race the top guys in the world. So I kind of spun out of that, and then had to go into the real career mode after this wonderful journey when I was a young guy. But I've been in the health and fitness scene ever since, because when you're an athlete, you pretty much get wrapped up in trying to get the most out of your body. And interestingly, the sport of triathlon is, when you're racing at the elite level, it's inherently unhealthy in so many ways physically, because the training regimen is so grueling, and you're constantly battling with your immune function and your hormone function, and noticing that red line where you can't cross it or you're going to fall apart, but you have to be touching that line all the time to try to race and improve your time incrementally when you're already going pretty fast. So it was a nice experience, but then I had to kind of recalibrate my goals and realize that things like longevity and staying healthy were important, rather than compromising my health in pursuit of getting on the podium and winning a prize check. So it's been really nice to kind of go through the different phases of life. And like you said, I appreciate the compliment, because I go hard on stuff. I get excited, and I feel like it's really valuable to maintain that passion and that competitive intensity throughout life. So to find something that gets you up and gets you excited every day, and it doesn't have to be a super serious thing. Like when I was on the professional circuit, it seemed like a big deal. We're on ESPN, there's a lot of money at stake. And so you get caught up that, this is a life or death matter. But really, the reason I titled my podcast, Get Over Yourself, is that even when I was a very serious competitive professional athlete, when I was able to enjoy the process and cultivate a pure love for the experience, regardless of the outcome. I wanted to win really badly, but it was the process that was the most important thing. And I had to disengage the attachment of my self-esteem to the outcome of what I was doing. And when I was able to remain in that evolved state, that's when I was able to perform at my best anyway. That's when I went the fastest. I made my best decisions in training. I could, take my lumps. If I had a bad race, I'd get back up the next day with a smile on my face and keep going. But when the measuring and judging forces of the modern world kind of got into me, then I would get, frustrated. I'd get overly competitive. My ego would get involved. I'd make bad decisions. I'd tire myself out, and I'd get into a downward spiral where I wasn't being the best that I could be because I was so driven and competitive and serious and all those things that we a lot of times celebrate. Like, wow, that's really amazing. You train so many hours per day and you push your body so hard. And that's not the hard part. The hard part is kind of rising up to the next level where your mindset is aligned with, evolved peak performance goals. So I try to convey that message as one of my most important things to talk about is what I learned as an athlete and how I can apply that to every peak performance goal that I have for the rest of my life, including being a parent and trying not to attach my self-esteem to the outcome of what my kids are doing and knowing that it's on them. And like, you're just here to facilitate and provide unconditional love and support and not be the helicopter parent that's such a, dramatic and ridiculous cultural trend these days. So I guess that's a rambling intro, but people should know that, I'm a former athlete and committed to healthy living and written a lot of books and, a lot of content along those lines.
Mm-hmm. And something with that is, like I was saying, you hear about the Mark Sissons and you hear about my goodness, my brain's going blank on all the people that I look up to. Heck, Paul Saladin is a big one of those right now, but what people don't realize is along the way, you've always been one of those guys you're really on the front line of having an open mind. It was massive amounts of vegetables and just a little punch of meat for a little while, right? And I was the same way. But you've been doing that for years and years. And then one day you went, you know what, this Saladino guy, he's saying some weird stuff. I better look it up because it almost pushes you backwards when someone says meat only. And so it's really neat to hear all that and to see that you and Mark and so many guys that I respect are always changing when you find something new. And the greatest part is your changes aren't like that drastic, that you're already really darn close. You're just kind of doing that snake meandering back and forth, which is a really cool concept. And maybe someday when my gut's better, I will go back to a ton of vegetables, but I highly doubt it. It's just, I'll go back to some. And but something about that you were talking about that for those of you who really want to have a deep dive into Brad, he just did maybe 4 podcasts ago. He did a Who is Brad Kearns podcast, and I love those ones. Like Ben Greenfield, I love when he gets interviewed by other people and goes into his life story. I love whenever getting to sit in Mark's house and he talked about his childhood and things. And then I believe Be the Wellness did a podcast with him where he really dove deep into his childhood and it was terrific. All these guys, when you get to hear what made them who they are, and it's just really, really comforting. You do a deep dive into yourself that I really enjoyed. And one of my favorites was your transition into a career as a coach for your kids' teams. And you're talking about how, your passion bumped right over into that too. And you weren't going to let them score on you. You weren't going to let as long as you didn't take your height into advantage, you would play as hard as you could against them until one day they beat you. So
yeah, that was my first transition out of being a pro racer. All that energy, and now where's I going to be directed to? So when my son turned 4, it was time to coach soccer, basketball, and track for many years, and I wanted to be that parent that was highly involved, and also to ensure that any kid I communicated with, would have that beautiful, pure sporting experience that I was able to enjoy, because back in my generation, we didn't have all this craziness and this intensity and the high school kids getting recruited to go to a different high school and all that. It's like today, high school is like college was back in the day, and college is like pro. in so many ways. Just everything's accelerated, and there's a lot of pressure on these kids. So I was kind of the fun coach that, tried to include everybody and be positive and supportive instead of yelling and screaming on the sideline. But the one thing that I was committed to was to being a participatory coach, and not just standing there with the whistle, but getting deep into it and getting that physical experience just like the kids, and kind of being a role model in that way. So yeah, I learned from another dad of mine who had kids that were older. Run DMC was his nickname, and he would just pound on these poor little guys, and they'd be near tears on the basketball court going one-on-one against their dad. And there was no whining, no funny business. If it was 14-3, it wasn't 14-4, it's 14-3. Remember, you only had that one basket, and then I had 3 in a row. And like, these kids turned out to be strong and resilient because they were exposed at a young age to what sports is really all about. It wasn't sugar coated and candy coated. And I think today, what I see is kind of the two extremes, where the kids are yelled and screamed at, and they're on the travel team, and it costs thousands of dollars, and everything's like, like the Olympic finals. Or you have the every kid gets a trophy and everything's okay, and the mom's rushing on to the field at halftime to feed them grapes and Cheez-Its and another soda. And I'm like, get that crap out of here. These guys didn't even hustle in the first half. They don't need any grapes. It's like, come on, kids, get tough. You can go 12 minutes without a sugary, a snack on the sideline. So somewhere we got to find this way to, put kids under challenge and have them discover their character. And if they want to be driven and focused and aspire to like a high school experience, then they got to be pushed hard and work really hard and get the best out of them. And some kids are out there because it's a huge journey from the television screen to get out on the field. And those kids don't need to be yelled at. They're not going to get an athletic scholarship. And I would gather parents and, give talks like this, like, look, the number of Division I scholarships for soccer players is 1 out of 238. So let's not focus on that right now. And let's just work on, something else. So, but you brought up a lot of stuff when you were talking about the dietary modifications. One thing that comes to mind to mention to listeners is like, all this fun and games that we're playing with when we're deep into the health scene, most people don't have time to engage at that level. And I, have a lot of peers, people I grew up with that are in different careers, and they just want little tidbits and sound bites from me. So we have to be really careful not to get overly obsessed and fixated on these little nuances, and instead kind of focus on that big picture. Dr. Peter Attia was the one that first gave me this line. We put it in our books, and he's a pretty extreme guy. You can't get more extreme than him and more deeper in, including his own self-experimentation. But he said, as far as diet goes, it's really just don't eat stuff that your great grandmother couldn't have eaten. In other words, get rid of the processed junk. Yeah. And if you can do that, if you can remove the refined sugars and sweetened beverages and refined grains, and especially the industrial seed oils, if you can just eradicate those from the diet, then what are you left with? You're left with the ancestral foods of the planet, the stuff that's not processed. And I have good friends like Rip Esselstyn. He's one of the leaders of the whole food plant-based movement. I've known him for 33 years. We go back into the athletic days together, and he's highly committed to plant strong and plant-based, and he's in with his father and the great leaders and Dean Ornish. And we have a fundamental difference of opinion and different belief systems about the role of animal foods in the human diet. But guess what? When he was on my podcast, we had a tremendous amount of common ground. And he really believes that fasting is important, and not eating too much protein is important, and not consuming too many, high fat foods when you're already, the human is already carrying excess body fat, all this kind of stuff. And then, he thinks eggs are going to clog your pipes and drop you dead. And a lot of people that I respect and follow think that eggs have been nourishing human evolution for 2.5 million years. And so then, what does the confused listener do? Go get some blood tests, go do a dietary experiment, commit to eating a certain way for 30 days. The first thing you do is get rid of the crap for 30 days. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to feel phenomenally better, even if you eat broccoli bowl 3 times a day and, or eat frozen liver 3 times a day. You're going to feel fantastic for 30 days. And so, now all of a sudden you're at level 8. instead of level 3 or 4, which is the fast food and the frozen dinners and whatever crap people are throwing into their bodies for the last years and decades. But now from level 8, how do we get to level 9 and level 10? That's why we have good content like your show and coaches available to deal with these nuances, do blood testing. I have this place I go, Let's Get Checked, it's called. They're a sponsor of my show. And you just go online, order up a test, they mail it to you, you prick your finger, you stick it in the envelope, and you get your blood results back on your screen in a few days. So we don't have to deal with doctors anymore unless you see some red flag on your blood tests. But I'm trying to highly optimize. We're going to talk about testosterone later, but now with all this information at our fingertips, we can make strong conclusions about what our lifestyle behaviors, how they're affecting our health. And boy, that's a much better than reading a billboard that says, Nabisco serves your kid the best fig Newtons at halftime of the soccer game. Not a good deal anymore.
Yeah. We had a conversation. Pennsylvania is really known for oddly enough, we have many really big potato chip companies. I guess we're a huge
home of the potato chip. Yeah. Pennsylvania.
And just talking about Utz potato chips. They were about to go bankrupt and like triple mortgaged his business and house and bought all the advertisements behind Yankees, behind the batter's box, and like overnight sold out of everything he had pretty much. So, and that was way back in the day. And it's just interesting. That was back when it was probably tallow it was being cooked in and real actual food. So
yeah.
Something I hate to backtrack because we already kind of got off the parenting thing, but I know you've been talking a lot about parenting lately, and it's really fun because as a Christian guy, a lot of Christian parents, they are positive that like if their kids go down the wrong path, it was their fault and they did something wrong, right? And you've made the comment through email with me, as well as I've seen it in your emails, in your big emails you send out, that we have as parents very little influence on how our kids actually turn out. And go into that some, because that could be very controversial, but it's very fun to hear that.
Yeah, that's we have to talk about that further because that soundbite can be, I think, misinterpreted. Of course, we have a tremendous influence, but I feel like looking back now, my kids are 22 and 20, so I'm in a different, more reflective stage than when you're truly the center of their universe and responsible for all kinds of things in forming and shaping their values, beliefs, character, behaviors, and actions, and things like that we have less and less control over. So I feel like the biggest thing to watch out for is screwing the journey up, rather than how much value you can add to ensure that your kid gets into the Ivy League because you signed them up for advanced math tutoring when they were 5, and you were all there taking them to all the best coaches and special training so they could get an athletic scholarship in sports. And a lot of that stuff is definitely out of the parents' hands, and especially in a competitive realm, so much of it is genetics, and then the person's individual drive that the individual has. That's what's going to lead them to the highest levels of music performance, and they're going to be the first violin when they go to the Philharmonic, and all these things. These are by and large, a lot of that's destiny, and then personal development, self-determinism by the kid. And that's where a parent who has that unconditional love and support and encouragement, and also reality where you're not like sugarcoating everything and making them feel like they're the center of the universe and they can do no wrong. Parents screw up by being overly critical. That's so obvious. I think we kind of left that behind in prior generations when everything was so strict. And, my grandfather used to get out the whip, and, if I wasn't home from school on time, I'd get 3 lashes and all that stuff. I think we now kind of agree that that's not the most effective parenting style. But when we swing the pendulum pendulum all the way over to where our kid can do no wrong. And we're in there, advocating at every grade level for our kid to get a different teacher because this is not a good match, or to get accelerated, experience in all these different directions so that they can, be a little performer. That is, seems like now there's a lot of research and a lot of support that this can, really harm a kid in many ways. And I think, what we're missing is kind of that self-motivation and that self-direction, because the parents are breathing down your neck at all times. You don't even know who you are in many cases. And I've seen, sometimes it can work if you just, latch onto your kid and, take them through this life experience with every step orchestrated carefully. And they're going to get out and they're going to get straight A's and graduate college and get a good job. But it's like, what's missing? It could be like a hollow shell of someone who's just followed all the rules in life, but has never been that kid who, hey, maybe gets in trouble once in a while. When I was a kid, I did a few things that were pretty goofy, and I had to answer to my mom and dad. And oh my gosh, I remember, one time my dad called me upstairs to his study, which was, his area of the home. And I wasn't hanging out there much, but he said, "Hey, come on up here. I need to talk to you." And he was the nicest guy. He was a hands-off parent. He was not authoritarian in any way. He was agreeable. We had the greatest life together. He passed last year at 97. Everyone loved him in his career, and he was not a controversial or a hot-tempered guy. But I went up the stairs, and it was about this incident that happened in my first year of high school, where I was, bombing out of class and getting, write-ups and all that. And he's holding the report card in his hand, and he says, "This is unacceptable. This isn't going to work. And you've kind of broken my trust in you, and you need to turn it around." And that was it. You can go now. I didn't have a chance to defend myself, and now you see these engagements with parent and kid. Sometimes you see them in public and you're like, oh mercy, what the heck is going on? And it's this back talk and this debate and this negotiation. And it might be the harried mom in the department store where it's, "Come on, you've been on my case all day. Shut up. We're going to go to the, this is not a healthy parent-child interaction.
Just eat these Snickers. Just eat this. Like, just shut up and eat this drug. Just, it's always. I grew up in a household where, like, we'd be in the store, we'd be crying and complaining about wanting something, and my mom would just hold onto her wrist, and it didn't look like anything was happening, but we shut up real fast because that wrist was so tight. She'd give a little pinch on the skin, and you knew when you were getting home, you were getting a spank. It usually wasn't in the store, but you'd get a spank when you got home, and oh my goodness, that was just the worst hour waiting and waiting and waiting. And
and that implies that you had a healthy level of respect for the authority that your parent should have. And in my story with my dad, I walked down those stairs and I felt so bad that I'd let him down. Yeah. And I hadn't fulfilled my full potential, because all he did my whole life was give me love and support and encouragement and all those things. And so if he was, a hard guy my whole life, and I grew to resent him and had a desire to rebel, that's when we see those problems. I saw those kids freshman year in the dorms in college, man. Remember? Yeah. You had the mean, restrictive parents. Those were the guys that were blowing the lid off the Kager party and having the police sirens come and see him. But I want to be a good kid because I was respected as a person from the very beginning. And so those kind of things help steer me in the right direction. And nothing's more powerful than me saying, I'm going to turn my act around because I want to, and I want to be a good person. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing where, when the parent's breathing too hard and putting too much pressure on the kid doesn't care. He can just, focus on rebellion for the coming years.
Man, we could just end it right there. Holy cow. That's just that little statement of essentially just giving your kid a little bit of sovereignty and enough respect. And just always letting them know there's constant love, and not their love doesn't come from achievements. It just comes from love. So that's really cool, man. I really appreciate that all that you said there, because I don't have kids yet. But we plan on having kids maybe soon, maybe a little later. I don't know, where it's already pretty later for someone, 35 people start looking at 35-year-olds and they're like, I don't know, man, you might be too old.
Hey, my dad was 44, 46, and 48 when he had his second round of kids. I have half brothers that are older than me, but any time's the right time. But you gotta feel it, and I think you have to realize that they're going to be the center of your life for a long time, and um, yeah, they should have like a quiz for parents to say you really want to do this because the world doesn't need any more population. We have enough humans already. And so, it should be a special experience. And I was all in, and I didn't want to miss anything for that period of time because there's never, ever going to be another, freshman championship basketball game. It'll never be there again. And, that's what's great about life is like every year you have a new experience as you're raising these kids and everything changes and is different. And so someone asked me, what's the best age? What was your favorite age? And my favorite age was every year from 0 to 22. It's fantastic now too.
Yeah, and I will likely quit my jobs because I'm a health coach, so I have multiple jobs, right? And I'll likely quit my jobs, keep health coaching on the side, and doing the things I do, and keep doing these interviews because I love them. But I will likely quit and be a stay-at-home dad. So my wife has a terrific job, and she loves it. I would love her to be able to work, stay at home and raise them with me. And now with all this weird pandemic stuff, she actually is working from home. Which never would have happened with this crazy blessing that we have here. So it's a curse and a blessing in different ways. But before we rotate some to some testosterone stuff, a buddy of mine who follows you intensely, he's also a primal health coach. Intensely might be a weird word for that.
Intensely. Intensely is different than intensely. Yeah.
If he's pretty intense, we better get the restraining order. He says, such an inspiration. He is 49 or 50 himself. Terrific guy, primal health coach. Primal changed his life. And if I'm not mistaken, you are one of his. He has like a list of 10 heroes. You and Mark and our mutual friend Erin Power. She's on the list. And he says, thanks for helping me get over my folk you. What is folk you?
Hey, folk you too. What's your problem? I thought we were going to keep this show clean. Come on. Yeah, that's a great acronym. I got that from Alicia Goldstein. He was one of my podcast guests, and he runs the Mindfulness Institute in Los Angeles. And it stands for fear of keeping up. We've heard of FOMO, fear of missing out, and that fear of keeping up goes hand in hand with that. And boy, it's a real serious modern affliction. Especially in affluent modern life where, I guess we run out of life or death things to worry about. We're comfortable, and all of a sudden you start looking around and seeing if you can keep up with the neighbors and the consumerism and the massive marketing forces that permeate life. It's really disturbing and something that we all need to watch out for, especially with the age of portable digital technology, hyperconnectivity, where we're constantly bombarded with a message. And in a lot of cases, it's a message of, how to live life like the guru says, and how to buy this and how to buy that. And boy, it can be very effective. We have some of the brightest minds in the world and the most amazing corporate entities that the leaders of the internet are very skilled at drawing you in and creating a psychological experience for you where you are compelled to take action. And that action might be to buy something, or in the case of the platforms, the action is to engage further with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is. And then they make more money the longer time you spend on there. Yeah. And to have that create that need for scarcity and for insecurity, those are the things that feed us to go into a frenzy and somehow try to prevail in this battle that's a losing battle. So getting really good at being comfortable with who you are, not attaching your self-esteem to the outcome of what you're doing, realizing that things happen for a reason, and the sacrifices that are necessary to, let's say, achieve a certain goal, like make $1 zillion. There's massive sacrifices required, and one of them is sometimes you're sacrificing your soul or what your calling is. And that's not going to work. Those people are not going to succeed anyway. And even if you do succeed, you're going to be unhappy and predictably have a difficult time managing the success. And we see that with the leaders of culture, the celebrities and the athletes who are doing train wreck behavior in real life because they can't seem to get a grip, even though they can score a lot of points on the court or the field. And so, I don't think anyone wants to be one of those people that is, successful but feeling empty. And so then you got to kind of, put your priorities in the right place. And that's a conversation that everyone has to have individually. But, just to tie it in with some of our discussions about parenting, these are the things you got to be really careful, the kind of messaging you deliver to your kids, because those kids are a sponge and they're going to absorb it. So if you value like wealth over quality time with the family, oh my gosh, the life coach in Australia, Andre Obradovic, he's been on my podcast a couple times, and he, tells for all the world to hear, now here in his 50s, he laments this journey of his life where he was deep into the corporate scene, working for, I think it was Cisco, a huge company, rising up the ladder, making a huge income every year and living the lifestyle. But when his kids were whatever, teenage years, he was that guy on vacation who was out thumbing his BlackBerry. Now he's dating himself, right? It wasn't the iPhone. He was thumbing on his BlackBerry, keeping in touch with the office because he was such a hotshot executive. And so his kids saw this vision when they were growing up, and they saw this role model doing this. And now he's telling me on my show that his kids are now corporate hotshots and they're rising through the ranks in their 20s and doing important jobs. And they're too busy to hang with dad on the beach because they have their phone in hand and they have to go back and get in touch with the office. And it's pretty profound statement to realize that, we're all doing this. We're all shaping culture every day with especially the people, friends, family, and loved ones. So we all need to get better as a group, as a society, in taking a break and perhaps valuing things like an experience in nature that's free and doesn't help you clear your email inbox. But without it, we're going to have these voids that get bigger and bigger in modern life.
Yeah, and that's that's heartbreaking. But it's heartbreaking hearing that his kids are now like, and then that's going to happen no matter what, but you hate to see them doing the same thing that you found later in life was a mistake. And but it might not be a mistake for them. It might be what they really love and are passionate about. And I think just always teaching passion, responsible passion, but passion for things, I think is such an important thing. And I have a bunch of nieces, and I always want to instill that in them. And I have another niece or nephew, don't know which on the way. I would love to have a little boy running around the family. So, so speaking of passion, something else that you're really passionate about is it's kind of a mixed bag here of the whole testosterone increasing, because you hit it and you realize like it doesn't just stay where it's supposed to, right? The testosterone level. I apologize, that could have been a weird innuendo there. And you do a bunch of different things. If my Chromebook could handle the website being open, one of the things streaming by on your website is you jumping into a cold plunge every day, you doing micro workouts, passion, which we've been talking about. Having passion increases testosterone. People don't think of that. And living into the best passion you can in little areas and doing the best you can in those things increases testosterone. Being a man about things in terms of like something I think it was your number 10 on the list the other day. Don't be a douche to your girlfriend or your wife, period. That increases your testosterone. John Gray talks about those things. And so let's talk about this from your perspective. What are the things that you really key in on for what you call the MoFo lifestyle, which is actually based on a supplement that you've partnered with Ancestral Supplements for?
Right. So we came out with this interesting organ supplement, animal organs, and it's called Male Optimization Formula with Organs. If you're watching on the video, you can see the bottle in the background, and it's designed to boost your natural internal testosterone production. The like supports like concept, of ancestral health is that when you're taking the same organs from the animal, so this product contains freeze-dried testicle, prostate, heart, liver, and bone marrow. So when you're taking these testicles, the testicle proteins, peptides, enzymes, cofactors and molecular biodirectors affect the testicular production of the human. And this has been, an ancient healing method and ancestral wisdom for a long time, dating back to prehistoric times, and even today with Native American healers and ancient Chinese medicine use organ supplements, glandular supplements you might be familiar with from functional medicine. So it's a really potent, great nutritional supplement. It's obviously just food supplements, not something extracted by chemicals in a laboratory. So you're taking the purity of these grass-fed animals in New Zealand. And that's great. There's a lot of good stuff out there on the market to boost your dietary quality and give you these targeted benefits. But with my guys down there at Ancestral Supplements, this is a really authentic company that walk their talk, and they're all fit and healthy and eating right. And so am I, right? So the idea here was to, behind this product, rather than just selling pills, to create a lifestyle mission. We call it the MOFO mission. So the product nickname is MOFO, Male Optimization Formula with Organs. And so I have a free ebook you can download with extensive information about all these 10 assignments that we give to become a modern day MOFO. And we're fighting a really tough battle here because there's so many areas of hectic high-tech modern life that serve to compromise male hormone function. And testosterone is the ultimate anti-aging, virility, peak performance, peak cognitive performance hormone. It has so many functions in the body. And boy, it's just getting destroyed due to influences in the environment, like plastics, estrogenic compounds, obviously the bad food, overly stressful workout patterns rather than well-formulated workout schedule. That's a way to destroy your testosterone. That was me when I was a triathlete. That's what I'm talking about, is I just wore my body out at the hormonal level. So a properly conducted exercise program. And then you mentioned some of the other ones, like, having a healthy, loving, romantic relationship is probably number one in many ways to your longevity potential. So your romantic relationship will make or break your longevity potential and your general overall health. If you're immersed in a dysfunctional crisis type of relationship, it's going to be the worst thing in your life. And if you remain immersed in these dysfunctional patterns, it's going to shorten your lifespan noticeably, with plenty of research behind that. On the converse, there's great studies showing that loving, happy, long-term couples have an amazing longevity boost. It's something like 8 years longer lifespan on average than people who are single and lonely. So we have to focus on these as top priority. And I think it's important to bring those into the discussion. That's why I had Dr. John Gray on my podcast several times, along with all the talk about fitness and working out and healthy eating and getting enough sleep and all the things that we focus on, especially as health coaches. You got to hit the basics and say, what time do you go to bed? What time do you wake up? Okay, well, when you wake up, are you a jerk to your wife or girlfriend, or are things going well? And do you plan to kiss and say good morning with a smile on your face? So when we can kind of take this comprehensive approach, then we have a chance to succeed. And then the example of, hey, order this supplement, it's awesome, your testosterone will boost. It gives the supplement a chance to work its magic like it's intended to, but not if you're eating like crap, not if you have dysfunctional relationship, not if you can't put your bloody phone down and take some downtime and some cognitive refreshment. So these are all little hits that I'm hitting onto the list of the 10 assignments. But if you go to bradkearns.com, you can look at the MOFO link, download this free ebook, get a ton of supportive information on there. So when you decide to invest in a supplement, you know that you're giving your best in every single way. And including, we need these boosts because it's not easy to eat a perfect diet every single day. And it's not easy to emphasize the superfoods like grass-fed liver and wild caught salmon and, every single day hitting these checkpoints, the pasture-raised eggs from the farm. Sometimes we're moving a little too quickly for that. So I'm a big fan of doing everything I can to optimize. And that's kind of, that's the MOFO mission in a nutshell.
And so also, guys, anybody listening, watching along the way, or if you watch this in the future or whatever, you can put a comment in the post a question in the comments. You can email either of us. We're very, very accessible. You can find our information on either our Facebook pages, Instagram, website, whatever. Email us with questions. I mean, we are more than happy to reach out and answer back. And uh, with the like versus like, that's always such an important thing to me. Um, I I have personally, I haven't eaten them yet, but I do have testicles in the freezer in the basement from a, a buck that a friend of mine actually got in archery last year. I had a button buck last year. I did not know it was a buck. It was so small, which meant there was almost nothing to bring home. So, so those stayed in the woods. But I brought the animal home. I just didn't bring the testicles of that one home. But so I'm still like waiting to actually cook those up somehow. I'm sure it won't be too hard. I'll get Ben Greenfield's lamb testicle recipe or something. And
I eat my grass-fed liver frozen. So I thaw it out just barely so I can slice it with a really powerful knife. Paul Saladino turned me on to that because when you cook liver and you got that rubbery texture, I can't say I'm a huge fan. I try to fix it up with like sun-dried tomatoes or mixing in ground beef, but it's not my favorite thing to eat. But when you slice it up raw, it's in its most nutritious form, uncooked. You don't lose any of the nutrients, and it's actually just a chewy kind of thing that doesn't taste bad. You put a lot of salt on it, so you can slice up those testicles raw. You'll get the total boost.
I'm considering it, but I mean, I eat most anything raw, and in fact, I've fermented liver a handful of times, and that gets real gnarly. And almost, I can't do dairy. I'm one of those poor souls that can't eat cheese, and it gets gnarly and almost cheese-like in taste, in the smell,
Wow.
the funk. And generally, people that will try it, they take a bite and they're like, "That's gross," and then they sit on it for a minute and they're like, "Hi, can I have more?" And it's like it does something to the body and it like calls you for more of it, which is really neat. So another thing that I kind of hinted on is micro workouts, and I've seen you state that you think micro workouts are going to be one of the biggest changes in fitness. What is a micro workout? Because that's Chris Pryor. I hadn't seen him. That's the one who commented earlier, said you were a life godsend to him, and I hadn't seen him for a while, and he was like leaner, but not muscular at all, just leaner. He just changed his food. We went for walks, hiked. I loves to camp, and then I saw him again one day, like 6 months later, and he was starting to get ripped. Not like kind of muscular. He was actually ripped at 49 years old. And he goes, "Yeah, I've been doing the Brad Kearns micro workouts, man." So let's speak on that some, because I love minimalist everything. I have no desire to take everything all the time to do everything. It's just no fun to me.
Yeah, good intro. Love it. Congratulations, Chris. That's an awesome story, man. Fantastic. Yeah, I think this is the fitness breakthrough of the century. And of course, we're early in the century. But if we look back to the trends and the themes in the fitness game, and I've been in this game for such a long time, dating back to being an athlete, and I've attended those fitness trade shows where the hot new workout of the year is Peloton, where the instructor's there and all these great things are happening. But if you take a step back, what we mostly see in the traditional fitness world is a struggle and suffer, no pain, no gain type of approach. And so we want to get these poor people off the street and, turn their life around and sign up for a gym and go in there and do the 12-pack with the trainer so you know what you're doing and get taken through all these machines, or go into the room with the peppy instructor and take your spinning class or your boot camp class. And it's arguably better than sitting home on the couch, but there's so many problems with it. The main one being that we are just exhausting people, especially the novice who comes in there well-meaning and just wants to get in shape and lose weight. And it simply doesn't work to go and pound yourself with these prolonged workouts that are difficult and stressful, because they end up in exhaustion, burnout, and depletion. And so when you're in this glycogen depleted state, and you're going to the gym 3 days a week or 4 days a week or 5 days a week with the CrossFit community, and you're constantly depleting yourself, you're leaving that gym and you're going to overeat for the next 24 hours as a reaction to the exhausting nature of the workout. And this is not how elite athletes train. Elite athletes are always training well within themselves. That's one reason why they're an elite athlete. They have such great capabilities, but they didn't get there by being that person that pukes on the side of the road after yet another circling of the track at high speed. But that's what we see, and we actually celebrate it.
Mhm.
And we get a high five from our friend that we toughed it out through the workout, even though our knee was starting to get sore. Congratulations, you carried on. And we get, high fives throughout the classroom after a spinning class with the music blasting, and you're sprinting up another hill to finish the Tour de France. And
Can't work out
it's
this week,
it
the
it
next few days, but great job that you did it so hard this time.
exactly. Yeah. What you're going to do is you're going to be in that depleted, broken down state for the next few days. You're going to be overeating. The stress hormones are flowing in the bloodstream too much. And then with this chronic overproduction of stress hormones, because we have other stress factors in life after the workout's done, then we got to get on the train and commute and get into a stressful job, and then go home and reach for the Ben and Jerry's and watch TV all night, and get into an argument with our loved one. All these things are piling up. And so to kind of break free from that and figure out a way that fitness can be fun, can be energizing, nourishing to the mind, body, and spirit, so that when you do something, you actually feel better, you're more alert, you have a better mood afterward, rather than kind of a quick endorphin high, and then it wears off and you kind of feel lousy that afternoon rather than great. So I want to make that point too, is like when we do these extreme grueling workouts, we do get that endorphin rush afterwards. So we get this chemical high from pushing our body really hard. And that's genetics. That's the fight or flight response, so that we can survive this perceived life or death incident, which is actually just a spin class in your gym. But we don't want to tap into that fight or flight response too much. So here's a micro workout. It's just a very short duration burst of explosive effort that contributes to a fantastic fitness benefit over time, without that extreme risk that comes when you walk into the door to a fitness facility and put yourself in the hands of a trainer or a group class, because the workouts are situated to be too long, with too much risk of overdoing it, unless you're an extreme elite performer, right? I mean, CrossFit scene, I love their philosophy, the variation in the workout, developing all the aspects of fitness rather than just a goofy triathlete like myself, where I was just good for one thing and I couldn't climb a rope to save my life. But what do I see with CrossFit is I see these workout templates that invariably last too long for me personally. And I'm a pretty fit guy. I'm on the ranking list for the world high jumping, and I have a world record for speed golf that I set even when I was 53 years old. And I go into those classrooms and I feel like sneaking out at the 2/3 mark, because I've just had a fantastic session where I've given it my all, and I've done a set of pull-ups and then gone off and done another one in between box jumps and rope climbs. But then I'm done. I'm tapped out, man. I don't want to do a third set, and I don't think the workout should last for 20 more minutes for anybody, even an elite athlete. So not to criticize the whole spectrum there, but there's a lot of individual people doing great things. But generally, if we can just dial it back a little bit with these grueling high intensity workouts, we're going to get more benefit with less risk of breakdown. And so the micro workout fits in beautifully there.
Yeah. And Adam and Vanessa Lambert they said one time that back when they first started CrossFit, because they ended up like up in Chico, California, Rob Wolf's like first or second gym. And they said, we used to do this. So it would be the shortest workout we could possibly do, and then go hammer back some beer. And that was like what and then Rob started incorporating, he's like, guys, I think there's this paleos, like this eating food that's like, it really actually matters when you eat food, and we should try these things. And that's where it's like a downline, the amount of people that came out of one of his gyms is really just an interesting, amazing thing, how they've affected this world. And isn't that just something that shouldn't we all just want that? Just to you just ripple effect through life to other people, and to positively change others, and like that's a testosterone booster right there. So, but yeah, I love those. And Chris, if you are still listening in, chime in with one of your workouts, because if I remember right, it would be 10 squats with a kettlebell in hand, then 5 kettlebell swings, 15 push-ups, and maybe 5 pull-ups or 10 pull-ups. That takes a minute and a half, 2 minutes. He would do that a few times a day, and he did that for 30 days straight, and it was like unbelievable difference. I mean, it was like really light kettlebell, and I think he didn't even start with that. He started with body weight. So, um, and that-
Yeah, this is within reach of anybody. And I don't care how busy you are and how locked into a cubicle or an office. It's as simple as, standing up in your cubicle and dropping for a set of 20 deep squats. And even if you're in top shape, when you get to 17, 18, 19, if you're going all the way down to the ground and coming back up, these are pretty challenging.
yeah,
And then something with a kettlebell, where the kettlebell's in the corner, you walk over there, and in 1 minute, you can get a tremendous fitness stimulation. And then adding those up over time, oh my gosh, the cumulative fitness benefit is tremendous, and that's all we're trying to go for here. And it's vastly superior to an hour of power and 23 hours of laziness, which is kind of the template that you end up following when you're in the regular fitness scene.
yeah. And my workouts personally, most of them look like I say, okay, I got 12 minutes, and I leave a hex bar deadlift and a bench in the basement, or maybe I do, but it's always like 3 sets of deadlift and 3 sets of bench, and that's what I crave. It's what my body loves doing. If I have another 10 minutes, I will do 3 sets of pull-ups and dips, and when I start adding in those pull-ups and dips, my whole upper body just starts looking like I'm actually fit, and that's it. Like, I rarely change it up too much. I love pull-ups and dips, but I always forget how immediately effective they are. And the deadlifts, I just like to have a heavy thing either on my back or on my, in my hands. That really just sends a little cascade of endorphins in me. And it's honestly rarely more than 3 sets I do. And I don't even take a breather between the two. And I just take 30 seconds after the bench, go back and do it. And it's a really great time. And maybe I'm in the basement and I just do some jump rope for 3 minutes. And it's I could do a whole lot more than what I do in terms of more micro workouts, because I do so little. But I'm pretty happy with the results. So and it's not even the same type of micros that a lot of people do. So
Yeah, I think for the listener, the key is the duration is brief and the effort is explosive. And so if you can just get it done and get out of there, you're kind of flying under the radar when we talk about this negative stress hormone production, where you're going and doing these hour-long workouts several days a week. And again, you're not messing up even the times when you do the formal workouts. You're not getting exhausted from doing 1 set of kettlebells or something. But if you kind of elevate the platform from which you launch all other workouts, that's when you can see these amazing benefits. And so for me, I like my high jumping. I'm serious about it. I go and do sprint workout and high jump workout at the track. But every morning I do this morning flexibility mobility routine. I put it on YouTube. You can search Brad Kearns morning routine, or I have a newer one that says Brad Kearns dynamic stretching routine to start your day. And this has been a great foundation of my life for the last 4 years. I haven't missed a single day, which for me is rare because I go with the flow and I do something different every day. But I wanted to lock into something where I could start my day in a disciplined and proactive manner and advocating for myself rather than reaching for a phone and reacting to the busy world and all the things that come up during the course of a hectic day. At least I start my day by hitting the deck immediately and launching into this sequence that I show on the video, where I'm doing leg kickouts and hamstring moves, and it's all a core exercise. And what I've done over time, Mike, is I started out with kind of this simple thing that I knew I could commit to every day. And it wouldn't be a big time suck. It wouldn't get compromised. It wasn't super difficult to where I needed to be, fully rested and ready. So it was this 12-minute stretching routine. And as I kind of transitioned from a goal into a habit, so, after a year's time or however long it took, it was so locked into habit that if I didn't do it, I felt super weird and I had to go, take a break. If I did have to rush out and do something first thing, I would get it done at 9:30 or whatever,
Yeah.
But it was so locked into habit that I was able to, over time, gradually add some extra movements to it. and add a more degree of difficulty to where today it takes a minimum of 35 minutes. It's really difficult. Some of the stuff is, I took my very fit friend through it and he only made it halfway through. And I'm like, oh, so this is hard? Oh, that's great. I didn't know because I only do it by myself. But yeah, my core is activated for 12 minutes straight on the first 3 sequences. Yeah. And that's tough if you haven't been doing it. So now it's up to this 35-minute super cool routine that if I don't work out that day, at least I did this. And if I can do it every single day for the rest of my life, let's say, I'm starting at a really nice fitness platform for whatever I go do when it's time to do a proper workout in speed golf or high jumping or something like that. And so the point I'm really happy to report that I have this great routine, and that's nice. But for the listener, if you can start with something that's 5 minutes, and it's not super strenuous, but it gets the blood flowing and it gets you up and out every single morning, getting your eyeballs exposed to direct sunlight and doing the yoga sun salute sequence where you stretch your arms up, bend over, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a huge deal, but if you can lock something in and that becomes part of your life, that becomes a huge benefit to your fitness, your health, your focus, your discipline. You talked about my jumping into the cold tub. So I do the breathing, the flexibility, mobility, core strengthening ritual, and then it ends with the plunge into the cold tub. And so that's kind of a hormonal boost, but it's also a way that I believe increases my focus and my discipline and my resilience against all manner of stress for the rest of the day, because I'm trained to jump into 38-degree water. I can't say it's as pleasant as jumping into my 210-degree sauna, but it's sort of an experience that we need these days when life is so easy and simple and we can weasel out of commitments and make things easier and turn the thermostat up if we're a little chilly one day. So this kind of counterbalances all the luxuries and conveniences in life, and it makes for a richer life experience. And when we're talking about fitness, dropping down for these little micro workouts makes a huge benefit over time, just like you relate.
So I was telling you before we got on here that we just came from Charlottesville, Virginia. So we went and visited Monticello. It was our second time there because the first time was really rainy. We didn't even see any of the grounds. We didn't even know, you're up on that beautiful hill. You don't even see the surrounding mountains. And so we actually got to see all of that this time. And something we didn't know the first time going through, because it was a guided tour and they missed some things, and now it's all self-guided with the phone. Thomas Jefferson, every night before he went to bed, he would sit for 5 minutes with his feet in ice water every single night. And he claims he fully believes that is what gave him his longevity. So, and I think he died in his mid or late 80s. So, and he completely gives all the credit to that. Yeah. So that's a really fun thing. So did you have to train yourself to get into that water? Because 38 is lower than a lot of people go. People go 40s, 50s.
Yeah, you can get a cold experience from anything under 60. But I wanted to kind of get it over and done with. So if I could last longer, if it was 55, I want that. You're going for a hormonal shock. And the research out of Finland, there's a study that's commonly referenced where I believe the subjects had only a 20-second immersion into 40-degree Fahrenheit water. Wow. And in 20 seconds, they experienced a boost in the mood-elevating focusing hormone called norepinephrine and related hormones. But this is where you have this mood-elevating experience. The norepinephrine spike went 200 to 300% above normal, and it lasted for an hour just from a 20-second immersion into water that cold. So honoring that study, I wanted to see how cold can I get it. Obviously, you can get it down to 33, but when I turn my machine on too long, then I have a big giant block of ice in my chest freezer. So, right, you have to chop through the ice, and you can't go in for a long time because I have it on timer, and if I forgot to turn the timer off. So I want this high 30s water temperature so that I'm in there, and boy, if you can make that happen, it's a great thing to acclimate to. But I got to say this: I'm not some super stud guy that has this special power. I mean, Wim Hof says this about himself all the time. I am the first guy at swim workout when I was a triathlete. I was the first guy to get shivering and cold, and I didn't like the coach talking too long. And I'd say, "Hurry up, I'm too cold." And when I'm out on the boat in Lake Tahoe, I'm the first guy that has the big blanket on, and I'm shaking like this after doing my turn of wake surfing. So I'm actually a little bit wimpy when it comes to cold exposure. But this ritual is about overcoming that initial shock response to cold water and working through it with disciplined breathing exercises. So when I get into that tub, the first thing I do is actually submerge and I hold my breath. Don't try this at home. I mean, stay under control, but I hold my breath for a good length of time. And when I come up for air, I'm so happy to be breathing air. I'm not worried about how cold the water is. And so I launch immediately into a sequence of deep diaphragmatic breaths. And I just count to 20 with my diaphragmatic breaths. And sometimes I'll hold and exhale and have that space between my thoughts, which is like a meditative experience in that tub, because I'm thinking about nothing else except for my breathing sequences. And so if you want to try this at home, the first way to start is a cold shower, right? Mm-hmm. So get in that shower, take your morning shower, whatever temperature you're in the warm shower, and then grab your hand, grab it onto the dial and crank it all the way to cold. And try to last for the final minute of your shower or 2 minutes with total cold water. In Pennsylvania in the winter, that's the real deal. If you're in Phoenix in the summer, don't congratulate yourself that you handled a 2-minute cold shower. You're going to have to go buy some ice at the convenience store and dump it in a bathtub. Yeah. But if you can commence a deep breathing sequence as you expose yourself to the cold water, you will overcome that initial shriek that you've done your whole life when you jumped into the icy river when you were camping. You will discipline your mind and tell your body it's okay. I'm going to stay in here and I'm not getting cold or shivering in the cold tub. So I'm going into this 38-degree tub. It started out as 3 minutes. Now I last 5 or 6 minutes comfortably. When I say comfortably, I mean not under duress. It's not comfortable, but I'm fine. I'm just doing the breathing experience and I get out. And as soon as you get out, you feel awakened and alive and you have this hormonal boost for a long time. And if you want to rewarm right away, I like to rewarm naturally. So I might go jogging down the street really slowly. I have a video about that, Unfrozen Caveman Runner. But that's the best really thing is just to rewarm naturally. Yeah.
I saw that Ben Greenfield had posted that a whole article that you wrote, and I don't know if it was on his site or what, but he reposted. It was with your permission, but it was a really, really good job. Well done. And I know for me personally, I have made short habits of cold exposure, but it was always I would do hot and cold exposure. So just going straight into cold, I really have to do some heavy breathing beforehand, or else I just like it's pushing out. You can't even get a breath in. But if I go as hot as I can first, I can drop down the cold for like 2 minutes straight, just hot for 30 seconds. And I'm not sure what causes that. It's like whether it tricks the nerve endings or what, but I'm able to get a lot of cold exposure, really, really cold if I do that back and forth a few times. I don't know if there's a lesser effect with that, but Patrick Barkley, he said, Ice is definitely a game changer. So thanks for that, guys. And thanks for tuning in, Patrick. It's always fun having people chime in. So, and you had mentioned your master's sprinting and your master's your high jump. So you are actually ranked both in the US and worldwide for masters. So this is, again, we're coming back to the passion thing. Your highest jump, was it over 5.5? Was it 5.5 and a fraction of some sort, or? Because give me the exact detail,
Yeah, I was when I was 51, which is a surprisingly long time ago. I'm 55 now. I jumped 5.5 in practice, and that was actually, qualifies for a high ranking. I didn't do it in an official meet, but just this year, when I turned 55, I actually went to a track meet and cleared 5 feet, which I feel like I can do a lot better than that. But it was my first meet in many years, and then we had the quarantine, so we haven't had a ton of masters track meets this year. So I kind of snuck in there and got on the ranking board. So I'm I'm happy to brag about it. But I know there's a lot of guys out there practicing, and when the meets come back, I'm going to have to raise the bar myself to stay up there. But this happens to be the top ranked U.S. jump and number 3 in the world for 55 to 59 Masters track division. And boy, just getting that little spark of excitement coming back to the track meet, and this high jump thing that I've been fooling around with for a long time. Just, when I was coaching the kids, I would go out there and jump and teach them how to jump. And I was always pretty good with the form and technique. But, back in my day in high school and college, I was a distance runner. So I was a skinny little wimp that, ran circles around the track. I wasn't good at high jump, but I loved it. I had a passion for it. So I'd go over there after I was done practicing and doing all the crazy intervals. I'd go and work on my steps and mixed with the real jumpers. A lot of times they were the girls, because that was about where my bar height was in high school. But it was just something to do that's really technique dependent. Yeah. And it's quite an amazing challenge with the properties of physics in play, where you're trying to transfer energy from the horizontal plane to the vertical plane. So it's fascinating in a lot of ways that running a half a lap at full speed is not. It's a complex event, and you need all these different skills of balance and flexibility and being able to bend over the bar. And so, yeah, I'm consumed by it now, and it's just super fun to go out there and practice and have something to kind of be, I'd say it's for fun, but I'm actually serious about it in that way that's really nice and healthy. Of course, I'm not, living or dying by it. And it's not how I pay my mortgage like I did back in the days of triathlon when it was a profession. And so you're serious in a different way. But when I'm out there, boy, and I clear the bar, you'll hear me scream like I just, competed in the Olympic finals. And to me, in my brain, it does feel like the Olympic finals. So that's the magic that I'm talking about when we started the show. We're coming full circle here.
Yeah. And we had a video queued up in my computer, just this little Chromebook. It can do a lot, but it can't handle live streaming and having a YouTube video running in the same background. But the jump is really terrific, and you slow-mo it down for your actual technique, and you're just spot on. It's really fun to watch. And another video I really wanted to play was your Guinness World Record for the fastest hole of golf ever played. And that is, people don't even know that there's something called speed golf. And you are ranked, what's your ranking in the world for speed golf?
I've come in the top 20 in the last 4 world championships. So I'm battling with the young guys, the best pros in the world, who are actually faster than me by quite a large margin. Back when I played when I was younger, I was the fast guy on speed golf, but the guys were better players. And so now when you're looking at the elite players, these guys are amazing. Any golfer would have their mind blown by these guys running around the course at a pretty good speed, pretty good clip, and shooting par. So yeah. I'm scratching into the top 20, but my best score, for example, in a speed golf tournament is I shot 78 in 47 minutes. And so what you do is you add your strokes and your minutes together. So my score was 125, 78 plus 47. And 78 for me is a good round. It's 6 over par. I'm going around the course, making pars, a birdie here and there, keeping it under control, and running at a pretty good speed to finish 18 holes in 47 minutes. But it's, the athleticism is amazing out there. And to see these guys play this, analytical sport where the average player is spending 5 hours and picking between all their clubs and getting all their yardage right. You don't need to do that. You can go out there and use your natural athletic ability to react to what's in front of you, take a swing, run after, go get the next ball. And it's way more fun than regular golf. And you actually play pretty well because you're out of that overly analytical mind that can actually harm your performance in many ways in many sports.
That flow state, that would be just terrific. Because
right.
Brad, I would drop the ball 100 times over for the best shot I could get. And in a 9-hole, I still get maybe my best ever was 64, I think, in a 9-hole. So I'm probably always in the 70s and 80s for 9. And I don't play a lot anymore, but I used to play pretty regularly. And I can't remember. I shot par a couple of times on 9. So I probably actually was lower than that. But that's incredible to me. And for those of you listening and watching, he really, in his video, find it on YouTube, he is sprinting faster than most of you would sprint on an actual sprint workout. So it's really, really fun to watch. And for your Guinness record, you practiced and learned how to do every shot with a 3-wood, chipping,
Yeah.
putting, everything.
So the speed golf tournament that I describe is where we play the course, right? You shoot the entire course, 18 holes, you keep score, and you add your minutes. So I mentioned my 78 plus 47, 125. But then I discovered there was this offshoot of the proper tournament speed golf experience, which some guy was on YouTube with the Guinness World Record for the fastest one hole of golf. His name's Steve Jeffs in UK, and he had this amazing viral YouTube video that Guinness World Record site put up. And so they actually have an official category where it's just a single hole. Now, it can't be one of those short holes, right? So if you know golf, there's par threes, par four, par five. This has to be a hole of 500 yards length. So it's a par five, one of the longer holes on the course. And, that's longer than a lap around a running track. So this is a good distance. And so you have to have a qualifying hole that's long enough, and then you go for it, and it's a big it's a big ordeal. I had to get 10 people to prepare for this official Guinness World Record attempt. They're very, very strict. It takes 12 weeks approval process. So it became this whole big deal where I had to arrange my dream team and have 2 official timers, 2 official witnesses, a cameraman, a still photographer, a videographer. I even hired a drone to film to get some cool footage of the thing. But when I went for this record attempt, it was a one-time thing because I had to orchestrate this whole deal with all my friends and family coming around. And then when you're running full speed to play a hole, you're allowed to try for the record numerous times. But I knew after my first effort, I was going to be tired. And so whenever I tried for the second time, the third time, the fourth time, I wasn't going to be as fast running. So I had to nail it on that first time. And I credit this thing to be one of the greatest. I mean, it was probably the athletic highlight of my life, because under that full pressure of trying for the record, on the very first attempt, I hit 4 perfect shots and got a birdie. So I got a 4 on a par 5 using just one club that I'd practice with, so I could save time from picking up my bag and running to the next shot. So it was some wild, exciting times. If you're a golfer, you're going to love watching the thing. And guess what? It doesn't take too long to watch this golf video, because the whole thing was over in 1:38. So yeah, go on YouTube. You can find Brad Kearns Speed Golf World Record, and you'll be back. You'll be right back at your email inbox. Don't worry, you won't waste much time.
Oh man. And I just realized we are over an hour. I didn't even, I feel like I just could keep talking to you for a long, long time, because I really, really am enjoying you a lot. And right behind you, I do see your keto cookbook for cool dudes. And I love, Brian is such a sweetheart of a guy, such a nice guy, such a cool story. He's been on your podcast a bunch, and he's, I think he's your editor. I'm not sure. But what a terrific guy. And you did that with him. And was that with the Red Ranger, or was that the car?
We actually have 2 awesome books on Amazon for cool dudes only.
That's
Or
right.
wannabe cool dudes can buy them too. So one of them's called Keto Cooking for Cool Dudes, with a bunch of keto recipes. And then, as Brian and I, and also Will Schufelt, who's a podcast host and a great young leader in the carnivore scene, he has a Will to Win podcast, and he was the actual Power Ranger in his acting career. So he's an actor and a fitness enthusiast, and he got onto the carnivore cookbook with us. So we have Carnivore Cooking for Cool Dudes and Keto Cooking for Cool Dudes. You can find those on Amazon. Great recipes for cool dudes that don't necessarily want to spend 3 hours in the kitchen, but just want to throw some stuff together. And so that's kind of my style. Is I like to eat healthy, interesting meals that don't take a long time to prepare. So there's treats in there, the keto-friendly cheesecake, and all that stuff. And I think it's a nice gift idea, especially if you want to, if your man's a cool dude, get him a cool dude cookbook. Why not?
Right. That's right. And I know Brian's is his Instagram is like Whole Dudes.
Yeah.
And you go on, you're like, oh, a Whole Foods website. And then you go on and realize that no, it's just this guy who puts out amazing food, like using primal collagen in scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I got to go try that. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to ask him about it. And man, just the fun stuff. One of my carnivore recipes is meat waffles, and I stole it from the Strong Sisters, if you know who they are on Instagram. And it's a 1/4 pound of ground meat with 3 eggs, and you make a slurry in the blender and you pour it on a waffle iron, and that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
When we get off, I'll pull up my
Yeah.
phone and show you an actual picture of it. It's incredible, and I make them in this. So I take it and make it into sandwiches, like egg sandwiches. So I use the primal mayo, some prosciutto, and an egg. So, um, everybody, I'm so grateful for you guys tuning in. And if you want to learn more about Brad, he has over 200 podcast episodes. You can find him on all sorts of other podcasts. A lot of people are big fans of Ben Greenfield that watch this, and he has a couple with him. My goodness, you name it. You can find him on the Primal Blueprint podcast, and you've hosted that a lot of times for a long time, and now it's El Russ. And bradkearns.com on Instagram. It is at Brad Kearns 1, and somewhere on Facebook. I don't know the actual handle for
Yeah,
it.
you can find me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll find me.
The yellow jacket and the big smile on every picture. So, Brad, thank you so much. And I have one favor to ask as we're going out. Can you play us out the way the ba 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 ba?
Oh, at the end of my podcast.
Yeah,
And that show's a wrap. Dun 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 dun.
it is. I've made it. I've made it now. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it, and thank you, Brad, for all the time you've given us. So, hang on, and I will hit the end of the broadcast button, and the magic will be over. So, see everybody.